Welcome back. For the 5,000 of you who joined from the power grid video, welcome to the deep end of the pool today. We're moving past the how and into the who. Okay, so we've established that Giza is a machine, a resonant stone structure designed for massive energy output. But today, we're looking at the living quarters. Because let's be honest here, if you built a stone battery the size of a mountain, you wouldn't be sleeping in a tent outside in the sand like a tourist. You have a finished basement. And in Giza, that basement is a multi-level limestone fortress dropping 100 feet into the bedrock. So first, here's the thing. We have to look at the Osiris Shaft, a structure that archaeology tried to pretend didn't exist for decades, located directly behind the Sphinx. This isn't just a hole in the ground, it's a master class in ancient engineering. It drops in 3 distinct levels, each more complex than the last. The first level is a transition zone, but the second level contains side chambers with massive, empty granite sarcophagi that weigh more than your SUV. Okay, by the time you reach the third level, 30 meters down, you find a flooded chamber with a 15-ton granite sarcophagus sitting on a rectangular island surrounded by water. The mainstream guys call it a symbolic tomb for Osiris. Symbolic? Give me a break here, okay? They spent years chiseling through 100 feet of solid, unyielding bedrock for just a metaphor. I don't buy it, okay? I've seen my kids put more effort into hiding a broccoli stalk than archaeologists put into explaining this shaft. The crystal clear water at the bottom, that's not a leak from a broken pipe. That's a highly engineered aquifer system designed to maintain a specific temperature and frequency. It's a cooling system or a hydration source for whatever or whoever is still down there. Now, if you think the Osiris Shaft is the end of the story, you're only looking at the lobby. In late 2025 and throughout this year, Muon Tomography, which is basically using cosmic rays to X-ray stone, it confirmed that the Giza Plateau is basically a giant piece of Swiss cheese. Except instead of the holes, it's filled with high-tech air pockets and massive airplane-sized voids. We've confirmed at least 6 major unknown voids, including a 30-meter-long corridor sitting right behind the north base of the Great Pyramid. These aren't natural fissures. They are geometric, intentional, and shielded. And it's not just the Great Pyramid. Scans of the Menkaure Pyramid, I don't think I said that right, but I'm basically dumb, so, have revealed air-filled gaps tucked behind the heavy granite facade that suggests the entire plateau is interconnected. Now, we're finding corridors that don't lead to any known public rooms. It's like walking into a house with hallways that lead to a brick wall, unless of course that wall is a blast door. So you're telling me that these primitive Egyptians built air-conditioned, vibration-shielded vaults just to store some grain or keep a dead guy comfortable? That's like buying a Ferrari just to deliver cold pizza. The logistics don't track, and the official story is starting to crumble faster than cheap drywall. It's fucking ridiculous, okay? So now we can bridge the gap between Sumer and the Nile, because the gods didn't just stumble upon Giza, they engineered it. So if you look at the Sumerian deity Enki, we've covered him in many episodes, okay, the master of freshwater, genetic engineering, and deep earth construction. And if you compare him to the Egyptian Ptah, you aren't looking at 2 different gods here, okay? You're looking at the same lead architect with a different title. The theory I'm putting forward is that the Anunnaki didn't just find the pyramids. They created them. The muddy floodplains of Sumer were a temporary landing zone, but they weren't sustainable for a civilization that measures time in millennia. They needed a site that was geologically stable, resonant, and capable of generating the massive power required to sustain their technology. They chose the limestone bedrock of Egypt to build a permanent, high-tech hub. They didn't build up for the view. They built the pyramids as the engines for a civilization that was designed to flourish underground, away from the chaotic surface environment of a post-flood world. The sustainable colony is, the going subsurface. So think of Giza as the first smart city, but built with stone and frequency instead of fiber optics. The Anunnaki realized that the Earth's surface was too volatile. Solar flares, shifting poles, and atmospheric toxicity made open air a massive risk. So they built the pyramids to stabilize the local energy grid and then moved the bulk of their civilization into the bedrock below. This wasn't a retreat, it was a strategic advancement. They created sustainable closed-loop ecosystem deep beneath the plateau. By moving underground, they could control the climate, shield themselves from radiation, and maintain their advanced biology for thousands of years. The Egyptian text describes Zep Tepi the first time when the gods established the foundation. That foundation wasn't just the stone blocks you see today. It was the entire subterranean infrastructure that allowed their civilization to stay powered and protected while the rest of humanity was stuck in the Stone Age. They didn't leave the pyramids behind. They stayed inside the machine that they built. So this brings us to the ultimate question. Where in the hell did they go? Because my belief is that they never left. They just went downstairs. So think about the logistics from a biological perspective. If you are a 10-foot tall being with a 3,000-year lifespan and a sensitivity to solar radiation, you aren't going to sit out in the 100-degree Cairo sun waiting for a tan. You're going to live in the climate-controlled, radiation-shielded basement of a 6 million ton stone battery. Ancient historian Herodotus described a labyrinth in Egypt with 3,000 rooms, 1,500 of them underground. That was so complex that it made the pyramids look like a warm-up project. We haven't found it because we aren't allowed to look. The Osiris Shafts aren't tombs. They are service elevators and ventilation points for a sprawling subterranean city. Now the reason the Ministry of Antiquities blocks the tunnels and fills them with debris isn't because they're protecting history. It's because the tenants are still home and they don't want us seeing the Wi-Fi router. If Atum-Ra was the complete one who rose from the primordial waters, maybe he was just stepping out of his subterranean apartment for a breath of fresh air. Okay? That makes sense to me. So we've been staring at the stars for aliens, but the real neighbors have been living right under our feet for five millennia. Now, I know, some of you are thinking, but the government wouldn't know. Yeah, and the government also tells you that your tax dollars are going to infrastructure while you're currently dodging a pothole the size of a crater on your way to work. Okay? They know. They just aren't invited to the party downstairs. If you're one of the 5,000 researchers who stayed for this whole episode, you're officially part of the unit. So hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because on Monday, we're going to look at the Atum-Ra story here. We're going to look at everything about Atum-Ra in the next episode. So, stay weird, stay skeptical, and for the love of Ptah, don't drink the water at the bottom of the Osiris Shaft. It's probably coolant, so I hope to see you in the next episode. Peace, guys. Love you.